Welcome back to the episode 2 of the GB Sports podcast. It's your boy Flick. I'm here with my boy C Vegs. A couple topics we got for you guys today is the Jets and the quarterback situation. Then we're going to hop into some overreaction, not overreaction situations that are going around in the NFL right now. Then we're going to jump into our surprises and disappointments, as we always do. And then we're going to end on looking at week 3 and some things that we want to talk about there. All right, so Aaron Rodgers out for the season with a torn Achilles. What is going to go on with the Jets quarterback situation? Chris, do you think they're going to run with Zach Wilson, or do you think that we're going to see a different sign with the New York Jets?
I think just because of where they took Zach Wilson, they took him second overall. I think they're gonna have to run with him. Um, Plus, I mean, if they don't run with him, they're gonna kill his confidence I think, for the rest of the time that they're gonna have him. Honestly, I don't think they can pick anybody else up. And who's gonna come save him? Like Matt Ryan. Uh, I mean, it's not gonna be Tom Brady. I mean, he's 87. There's nobody that's gonna be able to, I mean, really step in and do what Aaron Rodgers was gonna do with this team. I mean, I thought the way they looked, that defense looked in the first game. I mean, if they have Aaron Rodgers the whole season, I think they're favorites to win it all. To be honest.
Kind of agree with you on that. In week 1, he didn't look terrible. He was 14 for 21 with 140 yards, touchdown, but an interception. And then week 2, even though it was against a great Dallas defense, I mean, he threw 3 picks. He looked like the Zach Wilson that we all know.
He just
So
doesn't look good. He
he
doesn't
doesn't.
look like a good quarterback. I don't think he can do. I mean, he just doesn't look great.
So I have a list here that was posted by ESPN of some notable quarterbacks that would be available to sign for the New York Jets. I'm going to list these off. So you got Carson Wentz,
No.
Cam Newton, Matt Ryan, Nick Foles, Colin Kaepernick, Joe Flacco, Bruce Perkins, and Trevor Seaman.
All right. The last one, who?
Who?
And
The only
I
one out
mean,
of there I think is realistic and would be kind of crazy to see is I think Cam Newton.
I mean,
Could
I
you
think
imagine a
Cam.
Cam Newton comeback?
I mean, for the Jets, I mean, I just don't see it. Um, I mean, even when Cam was at his peak, he was pretty um he's pretty mobile, and I think this Jets team is kind of built for a kind of like a passing game. I think they're built that way. I don't think they're built for Cam's style. I mean, and then, I mean, the only one that kind of makes sense to me is Nick Foles. I mean, he's a Super Bowl champ.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, and Nick Foles, I think he'd be pretty decent. I think Carson Wentz has had enough chances, as far as trying to be the guy. I don't think he fits. And I think if you're gonna make a gamble, it's a 50-50 shot with Carson Wentz. If you're gonna do that, you're better off just rolling with Zach Wilson.
I agree.
You get him, you get him a year um of experience. I mean, I'm assuming. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is hurt, but he's still gonna be there.
He said that he plans to make a playoff comeback. What do you think about that?
I don't think I think if I was Aaron Rodgers, I would just take the year off. Um, and I mean, it just depends. They did a lot of 1 year deals for a lot of their star players, so it's going to be tough to bring everybody back and get everybody locked in as they were for this season. I mean, they everybody on that team thought that they were going to win it this year for sure.
Right. I think the biggest challenge for that team is without Aaron Rodgers, do you even see them making the playoffs? Like making the playoffs for him to make a return, they got to do without him.
Oh,
I think that's a giant challenge.
I think so for sure because their defense was pretty shaky against against Dallas, and um, that was supposed to be their calling card for the year. I mean, Robert Saleh's that's his calling card. So I'm not sure if they are going to rely on that kind of defense all year long. I mean, you might as well just 1-2-3 Cancun right now, and just let Aaron Rodgers heal the way he's supposed to heal. Um, and you get maybe a full year of Zach. I mean, who's their backup plan after Aaron Rodgers? I mean, he's not going to play 5 more years, I don't think. So you got to start priming Zach Wilson. And this is the perfect time to find out right now if he's worth the investment in the long term.
Right. Supposed to be their franchise quarterback. I mean, that was obviously the plan when they drafted him. Like you said, if they want to roll on this guy down the way, you can't keep taking him down in confidence like that.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I don't want to, I would say, overreact on, their season thus far, but I mean, they just look too inconsistent. And you know, going into overreactions, I don't know if, what do you think about Tyreek Hill, uh, possibly becoming MVP this year? I mean, we haven't seen it, a wide receiver becoming MVP. What do you think? Uh, what do you think about that?
I think Tyreek Hill is the best wide receiver in the league. He mentioned all offseason that he is shooting to have 2,000 receiving yards. Say he does make that milestone and breaks the all-time record for most receiving yards in a year. Do you think he will still get MVP? Because we've seen it in two other situations to where those wide receivers did not win MVP. We saw in 2012 when Megatron broke the record, um, and Adrian Peterson ended up winning MVP that season. Same in 2021 where Cooper Kupp uh, was second all time for wide receiving, and Aaron Rodgers won it then. It all depends on what else is going on in the league, like who's going to have a better performance to where it's going to take that shine away from the wide receiver winning even after a dominant season.
I mean, I think the award is kind of built around quarterbacks.
Yep.
I think it's a lot easier to give it to a quarterback. And most of the time when you have a great receiving year, you more than likely have a top 10 quarterback throwing it. So I mean, you have Tyreek Hill, and I mean, yeah, Tua is not a scrub.
Mm,
I wouldn't say he's a scrub. So I mean, you, most of the time, the quarterback's going to get the credit for that.
right.
So I think this year, I mean, so far, uh, I just don't see it being a wide receiver award.
Yep. I would love to say not an overreaction, but I'm kind of leaning towards overreaction, sadly.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have to over. It's definitely overreaction on that one. I don't think, and plus, I mean, they got a lot of weapons. I mean, they got Jalen Waddle. They just have so many weapons that they're.
Say he gets 2,000 yards, Tua might get 5,000 passing yards on the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they just have so many pieces. You can't target Tyreek 100 times. I mean, you just can't do it.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, the only I mean, even like if you run into the Cowboys situation, I mean, I would say I think it's a bit of an overreaction on their record so far, in my opinion.
You're saying the Cowboys being the best NFC complete team is a overreaction or non overreaction?
I'm overreacting. I think that's overreaction.
Really?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Like the Cowboys are 2-0, but look who they beat. They beat the Giants and the Jets. The Jets have they're better off having you run the offense And the Jets. I mean, the two New York teams are
Hey,
absolutely terrible.
I run a nice offense there. I don't want to hear
Yeah, yeah.
it.
And the Giants, they have Saquon Barkley, a mop, and a squeegee. And and, and there's, I mean, it's just, I mean, their defense is, it looks elite, but I mean, I'm not, I'm not sold on Dak yet.
I'm gonna disagree. I think we heard back in week one that was our biggest disagreement. I think is the Cowboys. And I'm still riding on my side. You're still riding on your side. But I think it's not a reaction. I think the best NFC team, if not maybe the best team in the league, is the Cowboys for sure. They were lacking the pass game in the first week. In the second week, I think Dak threw an incredible game. Um, the only thing that's wonky, and I heard Skip Bayless say it, is the coaching in that week one. If you noticed, they were up by 40, and you're still playing your starters. One of those starters being Tony Pollard, who just came off of a very serious broken leg injury last year, and you're still running him. That was a little weird to me. Why that coaching decision will be made, but other than that, I like the offense if Dak is throwing like he did in week two, and I like the defense, of course, on the Cowboys. I'm gonna go not an overreaction.
I think as far as, them being up by 30, I don't think that changes anything as far as taking the foot off the gas. We know what, like Stephen A says, what will go wrong can go wrong for the Cowboys. So, I mean, they can't let their foot off the gas at all. They did it last year. Um, they had a great start to the season and missed the playoffs. So, I mean, it's they cannot take their foot off the gas. Um, Another situation I kind of wanted to get into was the Cleveland Browns situation. Nick Chubb obviously just got um, tore his leg in three different places, so prayers up to him for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I think they were supposed to win the AFC North. Um, and that's where I had them as a dark horse for that for sure. I know we spoke about it last week. Do you think? I mean, Deshaun Watson's getting the most guaranteed money in the league. Uh, do you think that he is enough to keep the Browns afloat, or to keep them? I mean, even as the number one seed in the AFC.
See, the only thing I see that stands in their way is the Bengals, and I know the Bengals are having a tough start. But I think everybody forgets that we saw the Bengals start in 0-2 last year. They started 0-2, and look what they did last year. I think we don't count the Bengals out in that division at all. I think if they start to look like their old selves, I think they easily take that division. But Deshaun Watson, we all know what he's capable of. I mean, before all of that shit unraveled with Deshaun Watson, I mean, we were looking at one of the best quarterbacks in the league. It's not like he has nothing to work with. They just signed Kareem Hunt, which is an excellent pass option out of the backfield, that is already familiar with the Browns team. And then Amari Cooper, who
They should have never let Kareem go in the first place.
They shouldn't have. No, he should have stayed on that team. I'm glad to see that they re-signed him. And you got Amari Cooper. I mean, we saw what he did in Dallas. He's obviously capable of being a top receiver. No reason they shouldn't connect and get back to their roots.
We just wrapped up week 2. Who are your biggest surprises thus far going into week 3?
I know we talked about it in week 1. On last week's podcast. I really like Baker on this Tampa Bay team.
You took my pick.
Did
my
I?
pick.
Hey, at least we were both connected on that because we both see that. I think Baker is the best. I think we might see the best version of Baker Mayfield so far, and I'm very excited for it because I think he's a talented quarterback. We all saw what he did in college in Oklahoma, elite. I mean, there's no reason he shouldn't find these amazing wide receiving cores. I mean, Mike Evans had a fantastic game. Um, I like Baker on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I mean, I really like him on the Bucks. Right now, I mean, he's already almost matched his uh, touchdowns for last year and no interceptions so far. Um, he's got 490 yards. I mean, that's already more than half than what he had last year in 5 games for the Rams. Um, and then that sample size that he had in Carolina, he played 7 games there. So I think he's proving to everybody that he can play, and they look good. I mean, Tampa Bay looks good. Their defense is ninth. They're ranked ninth. Their pass game is also ranked ninth, which is speaks a lot to Baker. And they do have weapons. Let's not act like they don't have weapons. But he's not turning the ball over, which is really really good for his sake.
Yeah, I love it.
So, who are your biggest disappointments so far? You can go team aspect or single player. Who's really disappointing you thus far?
I'm really disappointed in the Chargers. Really,
Really?
I really want the Chargers to be better, and I think that there's no reason they shouldn't be. I mean, you got Justin Herbert, who really hasn't impressed us so far in the first 2 weeks. Um, Keenan Allen had a great game week 2, but I think he's very inconsistent. And then Austin Eckler easily is one of the best running backs in the league. I mean, and then on defensive end, you got Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. Why are you letting teams score that many points on you? And why isn't your offense as dominant as it is on paper? Yeah, big disappointment in the Chargers. I think they should be a lot better.
I mean, I have two. I have one that I think is a bit more of a disappointment than the other. I'm pretty disappointed in the Bengals season
I
so
had that
far.
too.
Yeah, I think they're. I mean, in my opinion, they shouldn't. I think this is the second year in a row that they're going 0-2. They start 0-2. I mean, this is a team uh, that almost made it to the Super Bowl. They were about a play away from beating the Chiefs. So I think, for sure, Joey Burrow. I mean, he just got the bag, and he's got to show up. I mean, he's got to show up, and they really got to get it done. I mean, they're 0-2. I'd say this is by far a must-win against the Rams on Monday. Um, they're up there with my biggest disappointment. I think a little bit less of a disappointment uh, just because of the year they had last year, but the Broncos.
Yeah.
I was really expecting, with Sean Payton coming in, and you know, uh, Russell Wilson having something to prove. I thought they were going to come in firing, but they haven't. They look pretty lackluster. Defense looks terrible. O line looks terrible. They just kind of look like me and you could go out there and play the same way. I mean, they look really really. They look like a mediocre team, and if they, I mean, we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. Just kind of what you know who's in a must-win situation already in the early stages of the season. But Denver has to win against Miami, and I mean, I don't see it. I don't see them beating Miami on Sunday. Um, so you're gonna tell me that Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, that whole team is 0-3? I mean, if that's the case, I mean, you might as well just. I mean, you gave up so much to get Russell Wilson there. You gave up way too much, and I knew they gave up too much in the beginning. I mean, the Seahawks got a haul for him, so I think Denver season is over already, and I think that's an early prediction, but I think that's on my mind for sure. So kind of going off of what we were talking about, just who's in a must-win situation. I mean, it's only week 3, um, but so far, uh, looking at the schedule, I think the Bengals are in a must-win situation for sure
Absolutely.
against
I'll
the
agree with
Rams.
that.
Yep. I would say for sure, yeah, the Broncos. Broncos are in a must-win situation. Um, I, I mean, those are the only two that I can really think of right now. And the only one that you can really Vikings also.
I was gonna
I
say
think
the Vikings
yeah, I think the Vikings are in a
need to
must-win.
pick it up. I mean, obviously, what they were last year is a completely different team. It's looking
They
like,
look different. They look
yeah.
different. Kirk Cousins does not look like the Kirk Cousins of
Mm-mm.
last year. He
I
does
mean,
not look like.
Jetta's getting the yards, but he's they're not finding him for the touchdowns,
No,
and
yeah,
like he can get the stats all he wants, but it's not going to get you the win.
yeah. They look. I mean, they look pretty bad. Um, I mean, the only other team that I could say, I mean, the Browns are in a pretty must-win situation. I think the next few games and they have a bye coming up. So I mean,
Especially
they
if they lost
have
to Pittsburgh, that's a division loss.
yeah, that's gonna be tough. So I know they have Tennessee, and I don't. I mean, they should realistically come out of these next few games. They should come out 3-2 because they're not beating Baltimore. Um, so they should be able to beat Tennessee. Then they have Houston, um, and then they have Baltimore. So I mean, you should beat Tennessee. I mean, you're Deshaun Watson. You're getting paid. You're getting paid $250 million a year. You have to win. And then you got Houston. You know, you're going back to your stomping grounds. They're coming to play. I mean, they're definitely coming to play. I mean, it's not going to be much. It's going to be a couple mops and some brooms, but Houston's coming to play. Um, and I mean, Baltimore's rolling right now. I think Lamar Jackson has a good chance of winning another MVP this year.
You think so?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think he's playing well. I think they finally put the team around him to where he's not going to get hit as much, and I think they have a good chance to win it all this year, in my opinion.
I think the Giants are pretty much chalked for next week. I think they are in a must-win situation, but I don't see it against the 49ers. If they want to compete at least for the wild card, I mean they're down one win on their whole division. Um, you already know they have two tough competitors in that division. The Eagles and the Cowboys are two of the best teams in the league year after year. I think if the Giants want to do anything, they'll have to pull something out of their asses. But
Yeah, I think the next couple weeks of football is going to be a little stale. I mean, you got week 4, you got Dolphins Bills. That's definitely going to be a good game. I mean, possibly Ravens Browns might be a good game if Deshaun Watson can be the Deshaun Watson of old. And then what I'm really looking forward to is in week 5. Uh, you got the Cowboys and the Niners.
I
That's gonna
like
be
that game.
yeah,
I
that's gonna
like
be a good
that.
game. So I'm looking forward to that game for sure. We'll see what week 3 brings, but next few weeks are definitely a little bit stale. So hopefully some of these teams that are looking a little sketchy right now can right the ship.
Looks like that wraps up this week's podcast. Heading into week 3. We will see you guys next week. Don't forget to follow us on all social media, which will be down in the description below. And we'll catch you guys next week.
Take it easy, guys.